One of the most iconic and perhaps the oldest cocktails in the world, the classic Old Fashioned. It was invented way back before people had refrigerators and freezers. So to store the ice was a big issue, and what people used to do was to drink whiskey neat. But obviously that was not very pleasant for most people. Ice was super expensive and was not really used in cocktails. They decided to add some sugar to the whiskey to sweeten it up. But then you're just drinking sweet whiskey. So they added some bitters to add some flavour, to make it a little bit more drinkable. So you have your whiskey, your sugar, your bitters. Very simple, very straightforward. But it didn't stop there. People started experimenting and adding more stuff, adding juices, adding fruits, adding syrups, cordials. Eventually, the drink became so complicated, it became almost undrinkable. What a lot of people would do. They would go back to the old version, to the old-fashioned way. So when somebody would come up to the bar, they would ask the bartender for the old-fashioned. And that's how the drink was born. And I'm going to show you how to make it. However, before we get into making the cocktail, we need to get a few things ready. And number one thing that you have to have on your bar before you start making anything is the one thing that every single cocktail must have. And that is the glass. A traditional old-fashioned goes in the rocks glass. Some people refer to it as an old-fashioned glass as well. It's technically a short glass with a thick base. Second of all, get your garnish ready, which is just a regular orange. There are different types of oranges, and most of them will do the job. We're only going to be using the skin of the orange. So try to avoid the dry oranges, but the fresh, ripe, juicy ones, where there are lots of oils in the skin. Last but not least, you're gonna need a mixing glass. So as I say, we're gonna be muddling, so you need your muddler. Then you're going to need your stirring spoon. You can use any kind of spoon, but this spoon is particularly good for old fashions. It's because of this spiral thing that's on the handle. This little spiral. It simply aerates the drink as you stir it. Last but not least, you're gonna need your jigger to measure out the ingredients. So what do you need for old fashioned when it comes to ingredients? Simple. All you need is whiskey. But what kind of whiskey? There are different types of whiskey. There's Scotch, Irish, bourbon, rye, Japanese, Danish, South American. So which one to go for? But technically you can use any whiskey that you like. If you want the old fashioned, your preferred way, you can use a fucking Jack Daniels. If you want to call it whiskey, nah, that's bollocks. But for the traditional, classic old fashioned, you're gonna need bourbon. And there's no better bourbon for the old fashioned than the Maker's Mark. Another thing that you're going to need, that's probably not in your household, but is absolutely essential, is the bitters. And now with the old fashioned, this is the beautiful thing. You can play around with the bitters, but the classic traditional thing that just has to be in the old fashioned is the Angostura bitters. The classic Angostura bitters, absolutely vital for the old fashioned. And last, you need sugar. You can make your own sugar syrup, but the traditional way is to use a sugar cube. So let's get down to it. First thing that you're going to need for your cocktail is the sugar cube. So grab a sugar cube, drop it in your glass. One cube, like that, straight in a glass. Now this is not going to dissolve very easily in a cocktail. It's a granulated sugar, which doesn't dissolve so easily. So you're gonna help it a little bit by adding the Angostura into the cube. I like to use 2 to 3 dashes of Angostura bitters, depending on how you want the cocktail to taste, depending on your guest. How they prefer it. Do they prefer it more bitter, more aromatic, or a little bit more sweet? Play around with it, find out your own best way. So I'm going to put 2 dashes of the bitters, and I'll explain in a second why. But that's not everything. I'm going to use another Angostura bitters. They are in this orange bottle, and they are orange bitters that are going to go perfectly with this cocktail. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 more dashes of orange bitters. Now we have our bitters infusing in our sugar cube. We need to break down the sugar cube. We're going to muddle it. It's already mixing nicely, but we're going to mix it even more. And this is where some people go wrong. You can use just a dash of soda to help it dissolve a little bit better, to mix it up together a little bit better. But why would you add more water to your drink? You don't want water in your drink. You want just the ingredients that you put in it. But you can add a little bit more water into it without the use of soda. And how do you do that? It's very simple. Just grab 1 ice cube, drop it in and stir it up. 1 ice cube is going to melt quickly and give it that dilution that you need to mix all of these things together. So drop 1 ice cube in and mix it all up. I can already smell the Angostura, all of the aromas, and it's beautiful. We did not even put whiskey in it yet. So now the sugar is all crumbled up, mixed with the bitters. So you can see there is already quite a lot of liquid in it. Mind you, we only used bitters, 1 ice cube and sugar. We only made ourselves the most beautiful syrup that you can use for the old fashioned. So now we have our things ready, there's only one last thing that this cocktail is missing. That's your whiskey. So grab the bourbon of your choice and we're gonna add a double shot. So 2 ounces of 50 ml of bourbon. Straight in the glass. Now we're gonna fill up the mixing glass with ice and we're gonna stir it up and we're gonna keep stirring until the cocktail is just right. And how do you know it's right? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that is to taste it. That's the best part of being a bartender. You get to taste every single thing that you make. If you're making cocktails for somebody else, it's like having a sip from their drink every time you make a cocktail. And at the end of the day, you're just doing your job. You're just making sure the drink is absolutely excellent. So we're gonna fill up the mixing glass with ice. So you want to have enough ice to exceed the liquid in the mixing glass. As soon as the ice drops below the limit of liquid, you want to add more ice, because then what you're doing is diluting the drink way too fast and you have no control over the dilution. And this is the sole purpose of stirring the old fashioned, is to dilute it and mix the ingredients together. You want to dissolve those sugar cubes. Now there are many bartenders that say you should be stirring for 30 seconds, 50 seconds, 1 minute, whatever they say. And I say that's absolutely rubbish. You should be stirring for as long as you need to stir. As I said before, the way to find out when your cocktail is ready is to taste it. And that's for a very simple reason. You might have a different size of the ice, which means it's going to be diluting at a different pace. You might be stirring faster or slower. That means your drink is going to be ready sooner or later. You might have a different size of the mixing glass, which is also going to affect the drink. So you can't really put down how long you should be stirring for. It all depends on your equipment, on the ice, on the ingredients, on everything. So we need to be stirring until the drink is almost ready. And I'm saying almost ready, because you don't want the drink to be absolutely perfect when you put it in a glass. Why is that? Old fashioned has to be on the rocks. It has to come with ice. If it doesn't come with ice, just slap the fucking bastard that's drinking this shit. Take it away from them and drink it yourself. Because old fashioned has to come with ice. It has to be ice cold and it has to have ice, because the ice is gonna add a little bit more dilution. You want to stir the cocktail until it's not quite there, but almost perfect, because the ice in the glass is gonna add a little bit more dilution. That's going to make the cocktail perfect. If you put perfect cocktail in the glass with ice, it's just gonna keep diluting and it's gonna taste worse and worse and worse. When it's almost ready, you put it in a glass, you get a drink served that gets better the longer you drink it. So just keep stirring until the cocktail is almost ready. Now obviously you need ice in your glass. Can you use the ice from the mixing glass? And the answer is absolutely fucking not. Because the ice in the mixing glass is already diluted, you already diluted it into the cocktail. Once you're gonna put it inside your glass, it's gonna be diluting even faster. So when you're drinking the old fashioned with a pre-diluted cocktail, it's gonna get watery way too quickly. And nobody wants a watery drink. So you always need to use the fresh ice. So add a couple of cubes into the glass, fill the glass all the way to the top. Try to fill it up as much so the ice does not exceed the rim of the glass too much. If it exceeds a little bit, it's fine. But if you're gonna take it too far, it just doesn't look right, does it? Get a strainer and strain it right in. So this is the old fashioned. One thing is missing though. One thing that almost every cocktail has. And that is the garnish. And the garnish with old fashioned is one of the most important things. The garnish is gonna give it the orangey flavor. You're gonna use the orange peel and squeeze the oils into the drink. So first, grab an orange. Take a peeler and peel a thick slice. Now you want a thick slice so you can easily extract the oils. The oils are in the skin on the outside of the orange. When I made my first old-fashioned, I was squeezing the oils this way, and all of the oils went into my eyes. So while you have your pith, you turn that towards you, and the oils on the skin are gonna go into the drink. So squeeze it a few times over your drink, but there's still a lot of oils in the peel. So you can rub the peel over the rim of the glass. So every time you take a sip, you get that orangey flavour. Now you can just drop the peel into the drink, but I like to dial it up a little bit. So first of all, you don't want the white pith in a drink, because that is what is going to bring your bitterness into the drink. Nobody wants bitter old-fashioned. Either take the pith with a knife, or just make another peel that's a little bit thinner, suitable for garnish. Once you have your peel, you can style it up a little bit. You can grab a knife and trim it down the edges. Then what I like to do is to cut it diagonally on both sides. So you look something like this. Now this is completely perfect to drop in a drink. Just give it a little twist. And drop it right in. And here's your old-fashioned, made the perfect way. This is how every old-fashioned should be served. Now let's give it a taste. Yeah, that tastes like old-fashioned. It's lovely, it's beautiful. If you like whiskey but you don't like the harshness of the whiskey, this is the perfect cocktail for you. It's nice. Now I'm going to show you how to take this drink and bring it to absolutely another level. The level that's going to blow your mind. The old-fashioned like you've never tasted before. So as I said, first thing that you need to get when making every cocktail is the glass. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. The old vintage square glass, still a rocks glass, it's just a much prettier version, isn't it? The second thing I'm going to change is my mixing glass. And I'm not going to use the mixing glass, I'm going to use a mixing tin. It serves the same purpose. However, it is different. The difference is glass against metal. Now this metal tin gets your drink cold much faster. It just makes more sense to use the tin instead of a glass. So the next thing I'm going to change is the ingredient. Now we started with the sugar cube, and I'm not going to be using the sugar cube. The reason for that is that sugar cubes come in different shapes and sizes. They're pretty much the same, but they are not exactly the same. So you can't really control the sweetness of your cocktail. Therefore, I'm going to use a sugar syrup. This is just a regular sugar syrup, 2 parts of sugar to 1 part of water. You could infuse it with many different things to make this cocktail even better. But at the moment I have only this. A bar spoon of sugar. Put the sugar on a spoon and drop it in. Now the bar spoon should equal to around 7.5 milliliters, which is quite hard to measure out in a jigger. So that's why I love to use the bar spoon. Once you drop that in, let's go and pick our whiskey. You can use any whiskey that you like, and I absolutely love Irish whiskey. I'm going to use Tullamore Dew, which is finished in a rum cask. So comparing to the bourbon old-fashioned, this is gonna taste absolutely wild. But this is not gonna be the only thing I'm gonna be using. So I'm going to be using only a single shot of this. I'm gonna use 25 ml or 1 ounce. So what else I'm going to be using? Well, as I said, this is finished in a rum cask. So I'm going to use some rum, and I have a beautiful black tot rum, and I'm gonna mix it in my old-fashioned. So again, a single shot. Oh shit. Now we go on to bitters, and I'm lucky enough to have a wide range of bitters, and I'm going to play with them. So I picked these two. These are aromatic bitters, which is like a mixture of bitters. It's a very beautiful aroma. I'm gonna mix it with some Aztec chocolate bitters. So again, 2 dashes each. Now for the glass, I'm not going to fill it up with ice. I'm going to use a big cube of ice, which is going to dilute a lot slower, so I can enjoy my drink a little bit longer. Yeah, it's not exactly the biggest cube I have, but that's the ice mold I have at the moment. I'll get a big one. Fill your mixing glass with the ice and stir until it's ready. Almost ready. So again, strain straight into the glass and garnish. So once again, we're going to express the oils into the drink. They are flammable, and if you want to put up a show for your friends, get a lighter and flame the oils. Grab your lighter and express the oils through the flame to light them up. Some people say it caramelizes the orange oils. I think it's bullshit. It's only good for the show. Many people don't know about this trick. It's a very easy way how to impress your fucking friends, if you have any. So again, we're going to trim this down, make it nice and presentable. But now I'm going to cut a little hole in the middle. So there's a little hole here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab one of the ends and run it through the hole that I created and slowly pull it all the way through. When you pull it all the way to the other side, you end up with something like this, which looks much nicer in a cocktail than your regular pill. Go ahead and drop it in. So there you go. This is the better version of Old Fashioned. The color is much darker, but I can already smell it. And I can't wait to fucking taste it. Let's give it a go. That is absolutely insane. That is so beautiful. I can't even compare it to the first version. I mean, Old Fashioned by itself, it's a beautiful drink. But when you make love to it, it gives the love back. And this is absolutely lovely. This drink is unbeatable. Anybody who tries my cocktail and don't like it, please come here and speak to me. And I will very politely explain to you that you are an idiot. Cheers.